Hey everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. There's some baseball action going on over there, so hopefully the volume is coming in clear. And I wanted to say hello and also start something new. I have been in the habit recently of where there's a problem, let's create a structure that works so that it's no longer a problem. Let's find a resolution, right? And as I'm picking what's here in the garden today, there are some resolutions needed, I could say. And so I thought maybe I would actually just start a blog and just talk to y'all about what's going on because, I certainly, as a new farmer, don't have the time to write it all down. So, anyways, today I'm setting up for our CSA delivery, which will be tomorrow. And I'm just making some mental notes, and I thought, what better way to make a note than to say it to myself and to you all too, so you can know what's going on and there can be full transparency here. So, so our last CSA was so abundant. I had so many different kinds of radishes, although they were small, and I think a more focused look at my organic fertilizer would be the best choice for next year to make sure, and maybe start them a little bit earlier too, to make sure that I have a constant supply, which I have, of full-sized delicious radishes. So anyways, you might have seen the video. They were purple, pink, white, spicy, or smooth. They were really delicious, and had lots of those. Also, some spring onions, so many greens, collard greens. It was really great, and I was like, yes, this is going to be amazing. This week, which is 2 weeks later, we skipped a week for our volunteer day. This week, things are not so abundant, and it has been dry, but not too dry, so that's not particularly the issue. I think the issue is pests, and I'll show you here. Brace yourselves. Our collard greens were big and beautiful, and so abundant. It was great. But now, it's been hot and they have bolted, so that I will concede. But man, I mean, it's like, what's her name? Cruella de Vil and the Dalmatians. I mean, every leaf is just torn apart. And I'm not so sure. I know I've seen some white moths in here, and this bit of knowledge that I don't have about what particular types of pests are problems just leaves me space and an opening to be able to gain something new and for the betterment of what we're doing here, which is for everyone. So, oh yeah, you can see that in there. I mean, that's like, they look like eggs or something. So, no collard greens this week, or for the rest of the season, and maybe until the fall. That's a shame, but that is the name of the game. And as a new farmer, I think I know there's so much to learn, and I'm here for it, and I hope you are all too. Over to our greens bed, we have some greens. It looks a little messy now because I just harvested, but we have some greens, a little bit of cabbage forming here. Excited about that. And although they are extremely beautiful, I think I will forego the cabbage next year. It really just takes up far too much space for very little reward. Sorry, plants, to talk about you in those terms, but I think, I've heard other farmers say this in the past, other gardeners, and there's nothing wrong with trying it out for yourself to see to experience it for yourself. And I've experienced, and now I've learned my lesson. Moving on. The greens are looking pretty good, but again, it's getting so hot that they're about to bolt and flower. So we'll have to plant a new bed of greens, and you'll see that coming up. Another crop I think I'll forego or leave to the bigger farms is broccoli. Again, so much space for not that much back, although it is beautiful and delicious. Oh, and I don't know if you saw those videos. Here's one that went to flower already. We had a little visitor in here, Mr. Groundhog, who sort of went to town on a good number of these plants. Ate much of the leaves off. Luckily, the broccoli hadn't set yet, which is the flower. The flower hadn't set yet, but without those full leaves getting all that sun energy, the flower themselves can't really thrive. So that's another lesson learned. If we do broccoli again, I think I'll put it in a taller bed and have a more substantial covering for it. Not just the net, or to have the net earlier, I should say. I think the groundhog went to town, and then we put the netting up so that he wouldn't do it again. Now I'll show you some successes that we've had. I think the thing that drives my passion the most is the idea of sort of melding tradition and innovation. I heard so many times you don't have to reinvent the wheel, which, I often tend to try to do. But, like I said, we stand on the shoulders of giants, and if we're not doing that, we're just doing ourselves a disservice. So one of my favorite YouTubers actually is a gentleman named the Plant Charmer is his tag, and I think his name is Yusuf. Anyways, he has come up with such an ingenious, and I think his name of his company, Ingenious Design. He's come up with such an ingenious way to grow fruits and vegetables, and of course it only really works for a few. It doesn't only work for a few. What happens is there are some vegetables where they really thrive in this kind of environment, and it takes up very little space, and it's just sort of fun to build and see and watch grow. So I'm going to show you. Okay, so this is my ingenious frame. You can see it's just an A-frame with posts that go across to hold the gutter up. These are just average rain gutters that you would find at Home Depot or anything like that. Lowe's, your local hardware store. And you fill these up with dirt, your whatever potting mix you're using. And you can plant lettuce particularly in abundance here. He also plants strawberries in these types of A-frames and is incredibly successful. I mean, he has a business doing that that's successful. I know how hard it is to, or I'm learning how hard it is to make a business off of growing food, but this is the learning. This is what we do. So, yes, and you can see here that I've only got half of an A-frame, and I just chose to do that more so for design purposes than anything with respect to the way this garden plot will look overall. But I'm very excited about this. I'll also say that some animal got to this one too. So down here, look, it's not a salad bar, at least not yet. I'm so upset. Look at that little guy, poor thing. So I know those will come back, and that is fine, and I have a covering here now. So I think the lesson here is cover it right away before any animals actually even get to it. But I'm very excited. We have a little bit of a nutrient deficiency here in these leaves. I don't know what that is, but I know that I can look it up. So that's what I'll be doing this evening. Here's our in-ground pepper bed. We also have a couple of eggplants up here as well that I wanted to try. But, this was, here, this line was actually a unknown plant variety. I wasn't quite sure what seedlings I had. I got them a little mixed up. So these look like they're going to be cucumbers, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm pretty sure they're cucumbers. And we have our squash bed. It's getting a little bit overgrown, but that's okay. These squashes and zucchinis are pretty resilient. We got some babies coming in here. Excited about those. Another bed I'm really proud of is this pepper bed. We use the square foot gardening technique as well as the bed being a sub-irrigated planter. So it's a little bit higher and it has the reservoir underneath. It hasn't really rained that much to be able to fill it up, but when it does, these plants are looking really good for a long time. So it's a little bit of insurance. And then if the going gets really tough, I can manually fill it with an inlet that I have built in on the other side of the bed. But we can take a look here. So the peppers are doing pretty awesome. I'm really excited about it. I deadheaded a lot of these first buds, which delays the first fruit a little bit. But if you can wait, what happens is that the energy goes from those first buds and it's almost like emergency. So then the plant creates so many more buds. So we're gonna have a lot of peppers and I'm quite excited about that. I love peppers. I can show you our radish bed, but it's pretty much all done. Most of the first round were good. I planted a second round, also really good. Still pretty small, but again, I think a new mix of fertilizer will be the ticket there. And I did plant a third round, but it's again been pretty dry. Let's find a better angle there. I did plant a third round in here, but again, like I said, it's been pretty dry, so these new ones maybe are having a little bit harder of a time. But they were pretty prolific. I got these seeds from Baker's Rare Seeds, and I'm really happy with them. I was interested in finding a really interesting variety of radishes because I don't even like radish. I mean, I'm an adult, and as an adult, I tell myself I should like every vegetable. I mean, I just should, right? But as an adult, I feel like I should like every vegetable. I mean, I know that's not really the case, but I just feel like it should be. So I thought in order for me to get to like radishes, maybe I'll just try a bunch of different kinds. You know, that's the best way to do it. Try something new. So I planted and specifically searched out some interesting and pretty radishes. And I think I'm going to continue to do that. I've been learning now throughout this first season, like really what works and what doesn't work, what I want to try, and what takes way longer than I thought it would. Oh, I still need to show you the tomato bed, so we'll do that next. But yeah, this has been a real interesting journey, and it's so important to take such good notes on like when you're doing stuff, why you're doing it, the effect that it had. I mean, this is science too, right? Nature is science. But really, it is really important for me to treat this as if it were a repeatable experiment, because I do want to repeat this, and I want to repeat this in every community that doesn't have access to fresh food, or communities that would like to come together around fresh food. Let's take this not only in America but overseas. Let's take it worldwide. There's so many communities around the whole entire planet that could benefit from learning about growing food, sharing their experiences growing food, and building connections, strengthening communities around growing food. It's so simple. Haha, that's what I thought. Back to the science of it. You'll see there's lots of beds here. Some of them are in use, some of them aren't, some of them are experiments. It's all really one big experiment. But I have one bed of peppers in the ground, for example, and a bed of peppers using a particular method called the square foot gardening method. And I'd like to, at the end of the season, be able to note and chart which method worked better for us. Maybe some of the factors like soil makeup or fertilizer used, how much we watered, etc., etc. And I don't think we'll be able to fulfill all those parameters this season, but again, this has been so, I've learned so much in such a short period of time. We started this April. In April 17th or 18th, I think was the first day. I mean, it looks a little bit messy, but like, come on, this is great. This is what happens when people get together. It's amazing. Now I will show you our tomato forest. I don't even know if you can see that. Let's switch it up. So this is our tomato forest. I was pretty excited about doing this type of situation. It's almost using the square foot gardening method as well as using determinate and indeterminate tomatoes along along a trellis as they grow. And don't worry, that'll be fixed before they get too tall. And just watching them thrive. There's a lot of pruning that needs to take place in order for the air to be able to flow down in the bottom leaves. That's when problems happen with blossom end rot or pests. So we got it pruned okay. It could be better, but again, we didn't start till late, so you know, why stop a good thing? We'll just let them grow this year, see what happens, and replenish the soil and try it all again next season. This bed could use some water too. The artist in me never dies, and I hope the artist in you stays strong. I'm looking for an artist to create an archway for us here that also is a trellis that will help grow some of our vines for next season. So, any artists in the room or any artists that you know, please let them know they have an opportunity for some nature-based urban farming art. Finally, get to sit down again. It's a hot one today. So, you'll see there are a few beds that I didn't show you, and that's okay. Some are still in progress. We have a compost bed But I'm very excited about the progress, and very soon I'll be going over to Sidetrack Farms to help finish out this week's CSA. That whole long tour was to say that maybe some things didn't work so well, and maybe there were some issues that I didn't anticipate. But the whole process, every year, every moment of life really is a learning opportunity. So I'm here for that, and there's no shame in that for me. But I think what's really important is for me particularly, and in something I have an issue with in the past, is communicating when there's something that needs addressed, or I am having some issues, asking for help, etc. Like, these are not inherent to me. I hope you can still hear me. But so this is not a cry for help, and this is not, although I will take anything you have, but what this is to let you have a look at the progress we're making here, and also thank you from the bottom of my heart to allow me to do this work. This brings me so much joy. Feeding you gives me so much joy. Growing food for others that I may not know brings me so much joy. Helping my community is the highest joy. So thank you for listening, and I'll probably do one of these with each CSA delivery just to show you what's going on, show you what you have, and talk about it. And also document this journey for next year, for the future, for posterity. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.